Hello again, and you're back with your Khan, having a fireside with your Khan. By all means, come in, get a drink, have a seat. Hospitality, as always, is sacred to the Khan. So, first off, as always, just a bit of housekeeping. Number one, the Khan, if you are hearing this, is on Spotify. You can catch me on Twitter. You can also catch me on YouTube. I just want to talk about how this sort of Firesides with the Khan are going to be released. So number one, the first episode of Fireside the Khan, the introduction, will always be available on Spotify. However, as I try to work out the logistics and financials of such an endeavor, I will be releasing Fireside with the Khan on Spotify. Okay. Then as my free space runs out, I will be allowing them to become available on YouTube. How am I doing this? Well, I record these live as a video and then do the audio straight through. So I won't bore you with all the technicalities, but the backlog of these will be able to be viewed on YouTube as we move forward. Okay, so that's how I'm going to run that. Next up, as always, I like to start with my shout outs. First and foremost, Ben and Dale, two great blokes working the Down Under 40k league and subsequent podcast. You can catch them on Tuesdays down at Maitland Good Games, which tails into our next shout out, Jacob and the team at Maitland Good Games, located at 449 High Street, Maitland. Fantastic place to go and shop, fantastic place to go and play. Okay, I've had 2 games of 9th edition in there, one of which was against Jacob himself, and we'll talk about that later on. And finally, another really interesting thing about Maitland Good Games is you can see the fantastic work done by Colours of War painting studio, Andrew Piggott. You can find him on Facebook as well. In fact, you can find all these lovely people on Facebook at their subsequent pages. Myself as well, you can find me on Twitter. I will have a Facebook group. And if you want to shoot me a question, you can do so to have your voice on Fireside with the Khan. You know, your questions can be forwarded through to firesidewiththekhan, all lowercase, at gmail.com. Okay? So I want to focus this on getting good is today's topic. And first off, I just want to, in that vein, continue the shout outs again to Colours of War, who managed to actually assemble, paint, get it all together, the Necron half of the Indomitus box set in about 24 hours. Not a bad effort. That's assembling, painting, transport, getting some sleep at some point, because whilst Piggott is a madman, I'm sure he got some sleep sometime. The next one I want to mention, just quickly on getting good, are the boys over at Down Under League. If you go to their latest episode 3, I just finished listening to it myself, and goddamn, you can find it on my Twitter. The boys outline their plans for the league, and your Khan is greatly impressed with what they're building. This is no dog and pony show. These boys have put a lot of thought into this, and I think it's going to be fantastic. I won't steal their thunder, but they are creating a system that will not only shape competitive play, but also allow new players to cut their teeth without having them kicked down the back of their throat. It's fantastic. I think it's going to be... I don't get too far ahead, but dynasty is the word I would use. There is a great dynasty build there. By all means, get yourself a drink as well while you sit with your Khan. I'll be consuming my all too familiar iced coffee. So yeah, that's really my shout outs for today. Get onto it. Go and check those boys out. They're fantastic. And if you go down to Good Games Maitland, tell them the Khan sent you. He'll know what you're talking about. So today's podcast, I'll start off just with a bit of, back and forth on the latest 9th edition stuff. We've seen the rollout of the Indomitus box set. We know too well the early scorn that was attributed as a result of that release. We have Made to Order, which saw the rise and fall of the scalpers. Fantastic. Games Workshop, your Khan approves greatly. That was a master stroke. If, however, you could do your Khan a simple favor, extend out that Made to Order just a little bit. There's a Sisters of Battle box I'd really like to see more of. And on a personal note, my holy grail quest, if you could ever bestow upon your Khan one boon, it would be to give me a brand new, made-to-order 5th edition Warhammer Fantasy box set. I cut my teeth in this hobby on it, and I've always had it as my holy grail of being able to find another one of those again. Although if you want to in Australia, you're looking at about $800. Just saying. So yeah, that's really the news there we've seen. We've also seen the release or the teasing of more Primaris vehicles, which I'm sure the community can't get enough of. We've also seen the pictures of the new edition. I don't want to call it edition. The new release of, I think it's Command Edition for Indomitus, which comes with some terrain, a bit of pieces and stuff. I don't know what that's about. I'm keeping an eye on it. I'll let you know when I find it. The other bit that I just want to mention quickly is that we're seeing a lot of releases, we're seeing a lot of stuff, and the next releases that have caused me no end of salt, unfortunately, have been the announcement regarding Space Marines as a Space Marine player. I just bought that goddamn codex. I just bought that goddamn supplement. I will try to stay positive. Who knows? It's a tidy up. It's a new thing. It's good. We'll see how it goes. I am disappointed to know that I have to buy yet another book, but this is the game I'm playing. And maybe down the track I'll do a video on pricing, because whilst it annoys me, you'll never hear me fall down that rabbit hole of GW is the worst company since blah, blah, blah. Not going to happen. So that's the housekeeping and all that out of the way. Let's crack into today's topic, which is the topic of getting good. Now, your Khan's always one to tell a story, so the Khan is going to share another story. When I left university, I had a bad habit of drinking 3 heavy drinking sessions a week. I had eaten crap food. I had gained a lot of weight to the point that I was over 130 kilos when I left university. This was unacceptable. I decided I was going to fix this. So I decided to go and join a boot camp to try to get better. And I did it once a week, and that was enough. No, it wasn't. I was shocking when I started. Couldn't do much, couldn't do my push-ups, burpees were going to kill me. It was terrible. So I decided that I needed to do more. So I went to 3 days a week. That went okay, started to make a little bit of progress. Then I decided I would do jogging 3 days a week with some swims 3 days a week. Go for a jog, go for a swim. I could do that near my local centre. So now I'm up to 6 days a week. Then I start reading about nutrition, fitness, all that kind of stuff, change my diet. By the end of the year, I could, jog quite comfortably. I'd lost 20 kilos. I had, quote, got good physically. So the point I'm trying to make here is that was a year of dedicated effort to get to that point. Okay? Then I went off, went to the gym, started doing the same thing 6 days a week. Big weights exercises, trying to strip down, bulk my shoulders out, all that kind of stuff. Again, more study, learning about how to gain muscle mass and all that kind of stuff. Spent more time, got what I wanted. That's the get good attitude, okay? This is what I want you to bring to 40K. How does this translate to competitive 40K? Remarkably easy, in fact. First and foremost, I had to admit that I had an issue. Just like some players, myself included, have to admit we have an issue. So for me, it was getting trounced at Wyong and driving home all salty and going, what the F was that? So I had to admit, maybe, just maybe, it was me. So when I went back and I started keeping a little notepad, and I'd write in that what happened in a game, what was good, what was bad, questions, if an enemy ability came up that I wasn't sure of, write it down, go home and learn it. I don't like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Gotcha Hammer, but when you are a victim of it, it is the onus on you to go away and study that stuff. And be aware of what's going on with the meta. If some new jank comes out, don't let the first time you know about it be on the table, because that's just a recipe for disaster. So in Warhammer, how do we get good? Well, first and foremost, we've admitted we need to change. We start tidying up our tactics. We start learning our basics, so we study. Where I suggest you study is learning things like, for example, to use the 8th ed equivalent, it is your techniques like castling, screening, which, even though it's different in 9th edition, some of that still matters. You still need to know how to position your units in order to get the best benefit. In fact, in my last game against Jacob, screening was massively important. Screening gave me very limited options on where to put down units. Now, if he had been less observant, I could have punched a unit of Terminators straight into his back line. He had it covered. This is where I'm saying, if you're not careful, you're going to get caught out. So knowing those tricks. So when I talked about the infamous tournament that I went to and I was told I won because of X faction that I was running, no. Before I got to that, I had to learn how to castle properly. I had to learn how to move my units properly. I had to learn about setups, that kind of thing. Learning that there is actually a turn 0 in gaming, in Warhammer 40k, in Age of Sigmar. It's called deployment. Turn 0. And if you stuff that up, as you may have heard on the podcast for Down Under 40k League, a deployment made in anger is doomed to failure. There is no way around that. If you stuff up the deployment, you are going to be on the slog the whole time. It's very hard to start off on the back footy on that one. And I found that I did it both in my first game of 9th ed, and I did it again in some ways in my second game, but the second game was less atrocious in terms of that. First one was a grandiose misplay on my part. Instead of playing conservative and hiding my units, I tried to go out. My opponent, Piggott, did the right thing. Hid very well. He won because he started off in that really helped contribute to his win. Because Iron Hands in this current age only get that first turn. They've got to make the most of it. So if you're not making the most of it, that's it. You're already on the back foot. So that's the first part of it. Okay, so learn your techniques. Do your study. Now, what do you study? Well, you study podcasts, Best in Faction, Art of War, my boys over at the Down Under 40k podcast, you go and look at them. Okay, your Khan might have a few words of wisdom for you down the track. YouTube, you can go to YouTube and look up things like Auspex Tactics, Tabletop Titans, Knights at the Game Table, Mini Wargaming, who else? I mentioned Tabletop Titans. They're really good. They did a fantastic video on how to use that. D6 Evolution, God, how am I forgetting that? His videos alone, fantastic. You know, learnt so much. The Khan's bloody war scrolls could be described as such. You know, the writings, the philosophies of Katai. They're where I went to, okay? So find those other players. Find those skilled Warhammer 40k players that have dedicated themselves to this and listen to them. If they have a podcast, all the better. Get your phone, plug an AUX cable into it, plug that into your car. Don't listen to 106 point shit FM. You want to get good? You're dedicating yourself to this. I wasn't out jogging 3 times a week, going to boot camp 3 times a week because I had a mild interest in losing weight. I had an extreme interest in losing weight. I want you to have an interest. If you want to be a 40k player that's competitive, you've decided, you're already past that level. You're wanting to play competitive. You're there. Congratulations. It's a great place to be. Some of my best games have been competitive 40k games. I think they're great. There's a different energy about it, a different vibe. There's the preparation stages. It's great. I can't push it enough. And 9th ed is going to be one of the best competitive ages for 40k in a long time. So take that with a grain of salt, but that's my prediction. So you've taken the first steps. You've admitted what you want, that you've got the issue. You've targeted the areas that you're going to do. What's next? Well, like me, reps. 3 days a week doing swimming. 3 days a week doing jogs. Boot camps, okay? You're going to get maximum reps in. So how do you do that? If you're lucky enough to have a local group, that's most good games and places like that have regular days for play. It's a business concern. You can't have all your players in the place at the one time. Find out if they have a 40k night. Go into it. If you've got a Games Workshop near you, bonza, mate. Find out if they have play nights. Go in, play. Get your experience up. If there's a tournament, get a rep in at a tournament. Honestly, it's fantastic for you. You can't go past it. Even Wyong, I learnt so much from getting those 3 games in, and even playing just the act of playing 3 games in a day. That's a good set of reps. Very condensed period of time. If you're lucky, you might get 1 game in a fortnight, 1 game in a week. I'm about the 1 game a fortnight at the moment. I love it so much. I can't go past it. If you have a small gaming group that you can meet up regularly, pick a day. Make a day of it. In fact, if you can get 3 people together and you can do a round robin or something like that, do that. But get your reps up. What if I can't get your reps up? Yes, they're asking me. What if I can't? Like, I can only meet my friends so many times. What can I do? Again, reps doesn't mean doing the game. Even watching a game, you will pick up stuff from that. Watch your mini wargaming. Watch your Knights at the Game Table. Knights at the Game Table is a bit too condensed for my taste, but whatever. Rerolling Ones is another great one, especially if you're Age of Sigmar people. Winter's SEO is another great channel out there. He focuses more on narrative play than competitive, but still, units are units, games are games. It's well worth watching. So get your reps up, okay? Then you're going to change your direction just as I did. You've got your reps, now you want to focus in. You've lost the bulk, you've stripped off, now you want to build on that. So just as I went to the gym and started going to the gym 6 days a week and doing weights, you've stripped down the unnecessary crap in your lists. You're going to now build back in by bulking out with quality, okay? You've got rid of the useless, bulk up with quality, okay? So work out what units are good, what synergies are there. Try to make it work for you, okay? So for example, at the moment, I'll use my game against Jacob. So first and foremost, as always, respect to my opponent. Jacob was fantastic. I haven't had a chance to play against Tyranids since 6th edition, I believe. Might have been the last time I got to play against them. Cannot say enough for him. There's stuff that he had in that list that I was not expecting. I thought they would go for the big bug list. Instead, he bought a more varied list. He had 2 or 3 units of Tyranid warriors. He had Bivors. He had 3 Haruspexes, which when I saw him put those down on the table, I went, holy crap, this is feeling very much like playing StarCraft. So many big Ultralisks coming at you. He had the massive gun beast. What's it called? I want to say Exocrine, but that's not correct. Your Khan's knowledge of the Tyranid menace is sadly wanting. But yeah, big beast, big gun on its back, maximum death. And then he had some Gene Stealers for good fun. Fantastic game. Okay, it was a 2,000 point game. I built my list using the leaked Space Marine points. Took Librarian, Captain, what else did I have? Phobos Lieutenant, and a Chaplain. There's 2 patrols. And then I had some Scouts, 2 units of Scouts, 2 units of kind of tactical sort of dudes, 1 in a drop pod, couple in Razorbacks. You've heard this list before. But the funniest moments, so top moments, watching my Terminators, which, because it was 2,000 points, I've added 10 Terminators. 5 of them are regular, 5 of them are the assault ones with Thunder Hammers, because everyone knows the Storm Shield is going to be the beast of this edition for Space Marine players. I apologize for nothing. In fact, I loved my Terminators so much, I would be surprised if the Nova Castellans don't get a full first company list going, okay? With Terminator Ancients in there and stuff like that. A 5-wound Terminator that can drop a banner in and start helping you out. Yeah, you're going to believe I'll be seeing something like that. Took a land speeder as well. Local player, local genius actually, by the name of Forrest, pointed out to me there's a strat, because I don't use, my thing is I use the strats for the list I have. I don't read every single strat. I don't keep up on them. I just remember the ones I need, and that's all I care about. Okay? He pointed out to me there's a strat for making land speeders and bikes have an invulnerable save. Now, you'll remember on the last Fireside with the Khan, I mentioned the importance of bikes are going to play in the 9th edition, especially those ones from the Indomitus set. The interesting thing will be to see if this stratagem becomes applicable to them. Advance and get a 3+ invulnerable. So have a 3+ invuln, all them wounds, all that toughness, and if I use them as Iron Hands, having them with Feel No Pain, that's a tasty unit of bikes right there. It works the same with my land speeders. So having land speeders zipping around and taking objectives, that sounds great to me. And it can be a 3+ save. So why would you not want to do that? Thank you very much, Forrest. Your Khan greatly appreciates what you have done for enriching my lists. The game pretty much against Jacob was fun. It was a fantastic little game. Little highlights like Gene Stealers running into bolter armed scouts, getting smashed on the Overwatch using stratagems, coming in, killing 2 in combat, and then having 3 Scout Marines club you to death. In one round of combat, beating Gene Stealers. Like, that was just... I know they're only a 5+ save, but still, like, you're not supposed to survive that level of insanity. Terminators dropping down in the tactical doctrine and firing off storm bolters like crazy. That was good fun. The Haruspecs and the Haruspecs versus the Assault Terminators, a little bit disappointing. Watching them just get shoveled in by that Haruspecs. Watching my Daka Dread come out with 2 las cannons and a missile launcher and almost one-shot the massive gun beast Exocrine. Fantastic. Watching angry tanks. Now, this is something I loved out of the game. So 9th edition, your tanks get tagged. Who cares? They'll just shoot whoever tagged them. So my heavy bolter armed Razorback running downfield, charging in to a unit of Tyranid warriors and fighting with them was the funniest thing I have ever seen all game. The whole game came down to like a 2-point margin. We played it out, ran out of time, so that sucked, but Jacob is a great bloke. We talked about it, decided on the 2-point narrow victory and agreed, gentleman's handshake to a rematch. So there will be another rematch. The Nova Castellans will go into battle again against the Tyranids, so I look forward to bringing you the updates of that. So yeah, just to recap on getting good. Number 1, admit you have a problem. Step up from being a scrub, okay? Don't just blame the game or blame the things if you're having losses. Really analyze it. Keep your little tactical book. Write down what was good and what was bad. Get your research under your belt. Make sure you know what you're talking about. Like, I cannot stand people who go, oh, how was I supposed to know that? If something's good, the first thing that I find happens is every YouTube channel gets on the roof and just starts blasting it out. Like Unkillable Dreads and Iron Hand stuff, that was out like day 1. People worked that out. They weren't waiting around. They weren't sitting on their hands. They were looking at it and finding out about it and screaming about it. I worked it out pretty quick myself. I was still a step behind because I was focused on infiltrators, and then I learned about suppressors, and I realized suppressors were good, and then went and did my research and found out that so many other people are already screaming suppressors are gonna kill everyone, and they do when they hit. Unlike my ones in the game against Jacob, I will retire those boys most viciously for that effort. The worst shooting I've ever seen out of a Space Marine. So that's your getting good, getting your reps in. So you've done your research. Now hit the table and start getting your reps in. Watch your battle reports, play your games, find your local area, that kind of stuff. This is the thing your Khan wants you to do, okay? I want to see players progress. I'm on this journey myself. I've still got heaps to go, okay? But this has already taken me from losing consistently to getting better. Closing that score gap between you and these better players is the biggest thing. And then learning to play consistently. I will take someone who can get a consistent margin across multiple games, even if they don't win. So long as there's some improvement, so long as focus on one area of your game at a time, Turn 0 is a legitimate turn. The deployment in a game is a legitimate turn to learn about. Because if you stuff up your deployment, as I said on my soundbite for the Down Under 40K podcast, a deployment made in anger is doomed to failure. Okay? I did this with my first 2 games of 9th edition. and it came back to bite me. I stuffed up because I didn't take into consideration the rules of terrain for 9th edition. I let old habits kick in. I didn't hide as much as I could have because I wanted that first turn with Iron Hands. What I should have done was concede first turn and go, no, you take first turn, make them come out. Okay, I was too excited to get a game in, I'll be honest. Like, Khan was just like rabid, just wanted to play, wanted to roll them dice. It had been so long since I had a proper game. The next thing, in my next game against Jacob, was I deployed too aggressively. Hold back. If your whole stratagem is to get up there and be aggressive, by all means. But ask yourself, can I afford to sit back? What is the win state? So this is the next level. Understanding the concept of a win state, both for yourself and for your opponent. So when you design a list, you want to design a list, and this comes from like a Magic the Gathering background as well, when you're doing your deck list. What do I want this list to do? Okay? There's an idea of the all-comers list, which is you take a little bit of everything, so a bit of combat, a bit of shooting, a bit of sneakiness, a bit of psychic, whatever you want. But when you write a list, just like getting rid of the bulk and only building on the frame, you want to look at your list and say, okay, what do I need to do to win with this list? What do I want it? How do I want it to play? Not like down to the paper, rock, scissors level, but along that track. What is this list? Is it a hammer? Is it an anvil? Is it just going to weather damage and just keep coming? Or is it a sharp, striking army? So sort of like the difference between Harlequins and, I don't know, Imperial Guard gunline. Okay, there's different things that they do, and you need to be honest about what you want to do. So in your list design, you need to sit down and go, right, what have I got? What do I want to do? I want an army that on turn 1 does this. By turn 3, it's doing this. Okay? That is a good list to have. And what's really great is now in 9th ed, it's even simpler because you can look at secondaries. There's always primary win conditions for your games. But if you look at your secondary list, right, raise the banners. So I want to go for raise the banners. So I'm going to need some obsec units. So I'm going to take this many, and they're going to do the following things, and they're going to get across the line. Then I'm also going to take psychic stuff. So I'll take a couple of librarians or something like that, and their job is just to get up and get off the ritual. Okay? Likewise, they might want to do mental interrogation, that kind of thing. You might take attrition, so you want a big unit that's just going to pound the hell out of their smaller trip units to ensure that you get those points. This is what I'm talking about. And this is why I think 9th edition actually makes list building a little bit better. Because for ITC, I found that jump. You find a list, you know exactly what you want it to do, you know what your win state is, you're golden. Now the next level up is being able to look at an opponent's list and go, right, I know what this guy's going to do. And this comes from reading lists from, say, Magic the Gathering, where I go, okay, this guy's going to mill me. The classic mill deck. You go, all these cards, their favorite thing to do is make me lose cards. Or, okay, this guy's got a lot of low mana, quick dropping guys. He's an aggro deck. He's just going to try to rush the board with his stuff. In 40k terms, I can look at this and go, right, this guy's got very little in the way of obsec, so he's aiming to kill me by damage alone. So my job is to duck and weave and to deny him as much as possible. It's being able to do that quickly that is the mark between players. Okay? It'll make your game so much better. Know what you want to do. Know what your opponent wants to do. I want to stop, and I think this would be a great moment for my wisdom of the Khan here. So, again, as always, wisdom of the Khan. There is a story of a man who goes into the woods holding the head of an axe. And the forest says, I don't know what this guy's about. I don't trust him. But the woodsman says, I'm just looking for a stick. I just need a stick. The forest, taking pity on him and thinking that he's an old man, gives him a good, supple branch. The woodsman puts it into the head of the axe and chops down the goddamn forest. The moral of the story is, don't give your opponents what they need to beat you. Okay? This is what I call the flag. So, or the tell. When you have a look at their list and when they have a look at yours, they're trying to work out what you want to do. Okay? So don't give them what they need, okay, to destroy you. That's my wisdom of the Khan for this fireside chat. The truth of the matter is, I almost did this in both games. Actually, no, I will straight up concede. I believe I did this in both games. So here's me admitting I still have issues and how I can get better. In my game against Pigott and his Dark Elder, I clustered my characters together. He had taken assassination. I was able to then, on a platter, hand him up 3 characters, which he went through like a wood chipper, okay, with Draz. He got his points. In my game against Jacob, in my desire to jump down and clear off a unit of Tyranid warriors to try to clear an objective off, to try to steal that objective out from underneath him, I served up my chaplain. And had the game gone any longer, he probably would have picked up that chaplain and got an assassination. Think about what you give up. Warhammer is often a game of trading. I will sacrifice this unit to achieve the following. Very much like the real world. Simple as that. What can I sacrifice? What can I gain? So, to summarize again, to refresh, in order to get good, first step, admit there's an issue. Next step, research, learn from others, get that information in, develop a plan. Next step, we do our reps. We watch our games, we play our games, we take part in as much of it as we can, and we keep an eye on what other people are doing. Next step up from there, you've got your bulk, you've taken off your bulk, now you're going to build. You're going to refine. You're going to look at what units you have. You're going to build your list. You're going to work out what your win condition is for that list. You're going to remember to look out for what the win condition of other lists is. You're then going to make sure that you don't make the mistake and give your opponent what they need to win. And that, when you do all of that together, over time, is how you get good. When you can do all of those things, you will get good. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all your Khan has for you today. Hopefully it has been entertaining. Hopefully you've learned something. Again, I do encourage you, this should be an interaction. By now, the plan for this is to continue to build together. It's to build a little bit of a community. I'm hoping to bring across a lot of people and build the Khanate here. I look forward to having these talks, and I'd like to keep you up to date. Now, before I round off, I just want to do a bit of a mushy thing, which is to tell you that this podcast was supposed to be recorded on Sunday. However, the Khan and his queen were in hospital. We are expecting the birth of a prince or princess very soon, and we had to rush in because we thought we were going to have it on that day, but we're still waiting. So I will try to keep active. I will try to be on here as much as possible, and I will give you an update on my Twitter when the next line of the Khan royalty is born. As always, have fun, maintain your hospitality because it is sacred, and let's all work on getting good together. And as always, the Khan approves of what you're trying to do. Take care.